Brian doing all right?
Everything okay. Thank Allah.
Well, certainly the temperature's better today. I think, let's see, what is it supposed to be? It's already 50. Yeah, it's supposed to be almost 70 this afternoon. Whew. Gosh, that's almost
Wonderful.
like, yeah, I know. It's like going to the beach. We should go to the beach, right?
It looks like a parky day.
Well, certainly, let's hope. I think in the next maybe day or two, all the rest of the snow will melt, I hope. I've still got, here on our street, we still have just a few little, piles of dirty snow. So hopefully after maybe tomorrow, it'll all be gone.
Yeah, some of it with the slat, yes.
Yeah, I think yesterday, so it would be almost not quite a full month with snow on the ground. So I think 4, almost 3.5 weeks, maybe. Yeah. I think we started getting snow January 5th. So this has been a long one. Yeah, it's been a long one for Cincinnati, at least.
Is there a chance to be getting snow in March?
Well, I mean, here in this part of the United States, it's not unusual to get snow in March or even April. Just because, we're kind of in, if you think about our location, we're kind of in the middle of the country, when you think about latitude.
Yes.
And so, cold air from Canada, warm air from the Gulf meet. And the problem here is that often they can meet and create tornadoes. I mean, unfortunately, we're kind of in that area where you could see that kind of activity. But sometimes it'll produce that kind of moisture with snow. So, we might get a snow in March. We might get a snow in April. Usually it's not more than a maybe one day.
Yes.
But it's not
Okay.
unusual. But normally January is the month, and sometimes February. Like I was reading in the paper yesterday, the newspaper said that February of 2021 was the last time we had this much snow. So I'd forgotten it was February. I thought it was January of 21, but no, it was February. So I don't know if anyone was here in February of 21, but we did. We got a lot of snow in February that year. So yeah, it can happen in February too. So, all right, I see Deanna's here. Deanna, you feeling better?
Yes, I'm feeling better. Thank you.
Okay, well, that's good to hear. Good to hear. All right. Well, hey, why don't we go ahead and get started? We'll see how the class progresses. Again, maybe a few more people will join us, but yeah, who knows? A lot of people have mentioned they weren't feeling very well. So maybe it's this, I don't know, maybe it's the change in the weather. Sometimes that makes me feel kind of bad when the weather changes this dramatically. So, of course, Gada was asking about snow in April and March, but sometimes we can even get warm days in February like this. So it's very strange. Yeah, it's kind of where we are located in the country, right? Kind of right in the middle. So, all right. Well, guys, welcome back. Anyway, so you may have heard this in the news a couple of weeks ago. We got the announcement that Skyline Chili, some of you may know Skyline Chili, right? Here's a picture of Skyline. I know maybe some of you have seen Skyline Chili before, or maybe you've tried it. But the big announcement was that Skyline Chili and Grater's Ice Cream were coming together to make Skyline Spice. So what do you think, guys? Would any of you try this ice cream? Would anyone want to try Skyline Chili as ice cream? Anybody? Yeah, Deanna, have you tried it already?
I tried Skyline spaghetti or something. I
Okay, so
didn't like it. I didn't like it at all. So I probably wouldn't try this ice cream because I don't like Skyline at all.
Well, what's funny, Deanna, is almost everyone says exactly what you said, which is they
Really?
don't like it. Yeah, the first time. And then strangely, the second time, the third time. Usually by the fourth or fifth time, they say, I love it. So it might happen, Deanna. It might.
Um, I don't think so.
Okay, well, maybe not. But what's funny is, first off, Graders. How many people here have actually tried Graders ice cream? Raise your hand if you've tried Graders. Usually, a lot of my students have tried Graders before. You know, that's a very popular Cincinnati brand. So, anybody been to Graders ice cream? Come on, I know some of you have. I know it's delicious. All right, so Deborah, what do you think? Would you try Skyline chili ice cream? Some people said it's pretty good.
I'm curious about this. When we had Halloween, I saw pumpkin
Yeah,
for limited time too.
sure.
So I don't know. I want to try.
Well, Grader's always tries these limited flavors. So you do make the first point I want to mention is yes, it's a limited time. So will not be around forever. So
Yes.
sorry. So Deborah, you need to
Interesting.
try it and then report to us. Okay, tell us what you
Yeah.
think. Yeah. All right. Well, what's funny, Deanna, is you mentioned the Skyline. You didn't like it, but many people think the secret ingredient in Skyline is chocolate, because it has a sort of sweet taste, which I think is a surprise for many people who try it the first time. So maybe that's would make it a better ice cream than you think. I don't know. Now, Gata, we've talked about this in the intermediate class. So did you try any of it? Did you try it?
No, no, I'm not good at trying new things, especially sweet and spicy. I don't like it at all. Uh, I even saw a chili chocolate, but
Mm-hmm.
I got shocked
Well, now you,
to
you
try it.
mentioned you mentioned that sort of that Mexican chili and chocolate that actually was very popular about 10 years ago. A lot of places were trying that combination because it had become very popular. So it's
Yeah.
funny. I think this is probably a similar flavor, similar taste. Probably. Again, I don't know.
Maybe
Um,
one day I can make my kids try it.
oh, I see. You make the kids try it, not you. Okay. Okay. Well, anyway, I don't know if any of you have, as Deanna mentioned, if you've tried Skyline chili, but we do refer to this kind of chili as Cincinnati style chili. So it is particular to the Cincinnati area. And one reason is because the people who created Skyline chili, who created this idea, were actually from another country. They were from Greece. And so some of the very first people who created this chili, it was a Greek style chili. So Deanna mentioned the spaghetti. That's, I think, one of the things that people find perhaps kind of strange. People don't expect to find spaghetti in their chili. So that's one of the strange parts about it. And of course, it would not be a strange combination if you didn't put a lot of cheese on it too. So, well, but anyway, I do want to just mention that because yes, Cincinnati style chili is particular to Cincinnati. And actually, it was because of people from Greece who brought this sort of recipe. So there are a few places around Cincinnati. Skyline is probably the one most people know. But the truth is, there are other places that serve this kind of Cincinnati style chili. So it's not just Skyline. There are other places too. Now, we're going to talk about strange food combinations here in just a moment, and you can talk about what do you think about these strange combinations. And then this will give us a good chance to learn a new expression. This new expression is very much related to the idea of food, but it's not necessarily about food. It's certainly connected to it. And then we're going to start a new grammar topic here in our class this morning. So we'll talk a little bit about that here in just a moment. All right. So as I mentioned before, you might think the idea of turning Skyline chili into ice cream crazy and maybe even disgusting. I don't know. To me, I would like to try it. The problem is I can't eat dairy. So I would, maybe many years ago I would have tried it, but now I can't. So that's why I need you to try it and tell me what you think. So the truth is that I can't eat a lot of things anymore. Can't eat Skyline chili because of all the cheese, all that. So, but anyway, here in America, we love crazy combinations of food. We love it. So I want to see in this next slide, I'm going to show you some pictures of some real food. These are real foods that you can find in different places around the United States. Many foods can be found here in Kentucky. And what I want to know is, which foods would you be interested in trying, or maybe have you already tried them? And you can put them in the chat, or you can use the microphone. So take a look here on the next slide. Now, again, these are all real foods. So, for example, we have the maple bacon donut, fried pickles, Hawaiian pizza, which is pizza with ham and pineapple. Over here on the left side, I chose a regional food. This is a food that you can find pretty much only in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. It's a sandwich with corned beef, cheese, coleslaw, tomatoes, and then, strangely, French fries right in the middle. So again, as you probably can guess, this is probably some sort of food brought over from, different immigrants putting food together. But then finally, over here on the right side, this is probably the strangest American food, what's called the turducken, which is a chicken and a duck cooked inside of a turkey. So I want to see from you guys, have you tried any of these foods before, or do any of them seem interesting to you? So let's start with Flavia. What about you, Flavia? Any of these foods look interesting to you? Would you try any of these foods?
No, I've never tried anyone. Okay, I'm looking at the pictures. Maybe I will try one day the sandwich. This one, it looks tasty for me.
Well, the good news is you don't have to go to Pittsburgh to try it. You could make it at home. And so in the email I'm going to send after class, I'll include a recipe for this sandwich. So it's actually it's actually not very hard to make. Now, maybe there might be some secret ingredients or special ingredients. I don't know. I tried it many years ago when I went to Pittsburgh. My wife said we have to try it. And first off, the sandwich is like this big. I mean, it's almost impossible to eat.
How tasty is it?
It's pretty good. I guess it really depends on how do you feel about mixing all of these different flavors.
Right.
Because it's a interesting combination of different things. Yeah, it's a big, as Goddess said, a very stuffed sandwich. And of course, the real capper is the putting the French fries on the sandwich, which I have a student from Peru. She told me last week that in Peru they put French fries in everything. So she said that looks delicious. Okay, so you want to try the sandwich? Okay,
the sandwich,
right.
Yes.
All right, very interesting. All right,
hopefully one day I will
okay,
try
so
it.
you're interested. Okay. Well, I'm surprised you didn't mention the Hawaiian pizza. A lot of my students have tried the Hawaiian pizza before. So has anyone here in the class tried the Hawaiian pizza? Yeah, with the pineapple? Deborah, what do you think? Do you like the Hawaiian pizza?
It's delicious. I like mixed fruits with food, and in Brazil, we love to mix things. We have a lot of kinds of pizzas with mango, figos and pineapple. I like. And
you like this? Okay.
Yes, I like it. And I just don't like maple bacon donuts. I don't like this.
You don't. Wait, okay. Let me hold on. Let me understand. So you're okay with sweet fruit on a pizza, but you don't want a maple bacon donut?
Yeah,
really?
Because I think maple bacon donut is more sweeter than pizza is less sweetie. I think it is. I don't like too much sweetie. I don't use to this.
All right, Deborah. Well, that sounds crazy to me.
Yeah.
Because honestly, the Hawaiian pizza sounds disgusting to me. Fruit on a pizza, I think you're
delicious.
Crazy. Oh my goodness. All right. Well, we'll see if other people agree with you. So, has anybody else tried the Hawaiian pizza? Anyone else? Anyone else tried it? Okay. Well, that's funny because in all of the classes where I've talked about these different foods, that's the one food that everyone seems to know and has tried. So I find it interesting. Only one person, really. Okay. All right. Now, Deanna, you've tried Skyline, so that's good. But Deanna, do any of these foods look interesting to you? Would you try any of these other foods?
I tried Hawaiian pizza a lot of times. It's actually my favorite.
Well, I asked you if you've tried it, and you didn't say anything. So you have tried it.
I'm sorry, I got a call from just about college, so I couldn't hear you. I'm sorry.
But you actually like the Hawaiian pizza?
Yeah, yeah. I love pineapple and meat inside of this pizza. It's my
Hey,
favorite one.
listen, I love pineapple, but pineapple on a pizza sounds terrible.
No, it's very tasty.
Okay, well, how about you and Deborah can go to Pizza Hut or whatever and get yourself a Hawaiian pizza, okay?
Uh-huh.
There you go. You guys can sit at another table far away from me.
Why?
I do not. I don't even want to be
Ha-
close to it.
Have you tried?
Of course I've tried it. It's terrible.
And
Oh,
sorry to say
no.
that, but far away from me too, because I don't like pineapple. That's the only fruit that I don't eat. It's pineapple.
Now that may be the craziest answer of all of the answers, Flavia. Who doesn't like pineapple? Pineapple is wonderful, delicious. All
Yeah.
right. Okay. So maybe we just put Flavia at a different restaurant. Okay. Well, Flavia, what about you? Would you try any of the foods here on the screen?
No, I've never tried any food.
Well, do
These
any of them
foods.
do any of
Yes,
them look
but
interesting to you?
yeah, I'm interested in eating this sandwich.
Okay, so you want to
Yeah.
try the Primanti Brothers sandwich. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So not the turducken. You don't want to try the turducken. I thought Brazilians love meat and meat and meat and meat.
I don't know.
Listen, I've been to
a
a
place for me this combination like chicken and duck inside the turkey. I don't
listen.
know.
I've been to a churrascaria. Come on, I know Brazilians love meat. Come on.
Yes, that's true.
Okay.
Yeah,
All
but
right.
I like more steaks, different kinds of meat.
I see.
But
I see.
yeah,
Okay.
I like chick, but no, it's not my favorite.
Okay. Okay.
Kind of.
Well,
meat.
here in America, chicken is big. I mean, chicken is the #1 meat consumed in the United States. So there you go. All right, Deborah, what were you going to say?
Because Brazilian people like meat, but we don't like a lot of processed meat. This kind of meat is like processed food meat.
Well, you don't know. You don't know that. Maybe somebody caught a turkey, caught a chicken, and got a duck and put them all together. You don't know that. Come on.
I don't know.
Well, I mean, truly, if you were going to, buy an organic turducken, yeah, first off, it would probably be much smaller and probably a lot more expensive. That's true. So yeah, that might be a difference, certainly. Now, Gata, I'm looking in the chat here. Gata says she doesn't like fruits and salty food, so not a good combination for her. Okay, all right. Miriam, what about you? Miriam, any of these look interesting to you? Would you try any of these, Miriam?
No, I don't want it.
Don't want any of them.
No,
Not even the fried pickles?
no.
Wow. Okay.
It's very
Well,
hard for me to try new things.
okay. Okay. Well, to be honest, Miriam, I don't think any of the foods here are probably healthy. So it's probably okay if you don't. I don't think any of these are probably good for you.
Yes, so maybe that's why.
Maybe that's a good idea anyway. Yeah. So when students tell me, but Mr. John, Hawaiian pizza has fruit, I'm like, yeah, but just eat the fruit. Nobody needs the pizza, right? All right, Gata, what do you have to say?
Yes, I'd like to ask about something. Maybe it's relevant. to what we were talking.
Okay.
The name of Kentucky related to the Kentucky was born in it, or it's related to the restaurants of the starting restaurants of Kentucky here. The name of Kentucky state.
You mean Kentucky
related
Fried
to the
Chicken?
Kentucky restaurant, KFC restaurant.
KFC, yeah, Kentucky Fried Chicken.
Yes.
Yeah, so the Kentucky Fried Chicken, yeah, began in Kentucky, and the person who started the restaurant, his name was Harlan Sanders.
Yes.
And in fact, the first KFC, the very, very first one, is located in Corbin, Kentucky. You can go visit it. You can, you know, it. So the idea was, I'll talk a little bit about it, not much, but so the idea was that, you know, in the early days of motor travel, so people having cars and driving, you know, today we think about highways, we think about places to stop like McDonald's and all of these. So KFC began before there were fast food restaurants. So the idea was to create like a little motor lodge, like a place, like a little hotel or a little driving. You know, before we had hotels and motels, you would have these little lodges. So you would drive, and if you needed a place to stay, you would stay in these little places, these little, like little hotels. And so, but the problem is they often didn't have restaurants or places to eat. So Sanders' idea was to create this little restaurant with a motor lodge. And then eventually the idea was to, you know, spread as the highway system continued to grow, you know, as we continued to have roads going across the United States, because it, you know, you would drive and not see places to eat for a very long time. So that's kind of how the idea began for the KFC and the Kentucky Fried Chicken, you know, model. Now his wife also had a place called Claudia Sanders. This was a restaurant in Shelbyville, Kentucky, and it was started, basically they started as farmers. I mean, they were chicken farmers, and then eventually grew into this restaurant model. But that's how KFC began. That's how Kentucky Fried Chicken began, was to provide food on the road. You know, not fast food. You know, not like McDonald's, but to provide a kind of family restaurant experience while you're traveling.
Yes,
So,
I got it.
Yeah, so eventually it kind of,
the reason of the name of the state. Because
yes,
of that.
yes,
Yes,
and yeah, and Harlan Sanders, which by the way, I'll show you a picture of him. This is why you might see him on the advertising. You know, yeah. So now, if you notice, he was born in 1890. So I mean, he was really a long time ago, and so he founded this particular restaurant, the Kentucky Fried Chicken sort of model. But again, it started really in this, like you said, this sort of motor lodge cafe in the 1940s, and of course, eventually the restaurant grew and became a fast food chain. So, but yeah, this is what he looked like. So there you go.
It's a very famous one.
Yeah, so you've probably seen, if you go to the restaurant, you've probably seen his face or picture. Usually they have a picture of him in every restaurant. So, okay. All right. Well, guys, hopefully we're not getting hungry, but maybe Miriam is right. Maybe none of these foods here are actually good for us. But once again, many of my students say, oh, yes, the Hawaiian pizza. So once again, you guys are crazy. Crazy. I can't believe you like the Hawaiian pizza. And of course, the maple bacon donut, that's my favorite. See, that's the one I like. So maybe that's because I like sweet food. So there we go. Okay. Now, maybe this discussion is making you feel either hungry, or maybe you don't like to think about the taste of these things. But this brings us to today's expression. And this is a good expression because it's actually not about food. Even though we get the idea from food, it is not about food. It's actually about the experience we have when we're in a situation that maybe makes us feel bad, or maybe makes us feel even somewhat disgusted. So everybody, let's turn on our microphones for a moment and let's say this expression together. So everyone turn on the microphones and let's say this one together. Okay, so guys, repeat after me. To leave a bad taste in your mouth.
To
To
leave
leave a bad
Bad
on
taste
your mouth.
in your mouth.
Okay, all right, you can turn off the mics there for a moment. Now, if you notice in my little videos here, so for example, this character is saying your language is offensive, like I'm offended, I'm disgusted by it. Or notice this young woman down here is saying something like some situation gave her a bitter taste, you know. So again, that idea of bad taste, bitter taste, is not talking about food. It's talking about the feeling we have after a particular experience. So, of course, yes, you might say, well, can I use it with food? Well, I mean, if the food tastes terrible, we might say, yes, it's a bad taste. But this expression, when someone says that left a bad taste in my mouth, they're not talking about a restaurant. They're not talking about a food experience. They're probably talking about a situation that makes them feel bad or disgusted. So, in just a moment, we're going to go into the breakout room and do a short dialogue. And again, just like we've done before, you practice the dialogue, and then there is a question at the bottom of the screen for you to discuss. And again, the question is about this idea of a situation that maybe would leave a bad taste in your mouth, that makes you feel bad. And the idea here is, what would you do in that situation? Would you have an argument with someone? Or do you try to not have these arguments? You know, some people don't. Some people don't like conflict because conflict makes them feel bad. So this will be a chance for you and a partner to discuss. So I'm going to stop sharing the screen and we'll go into the breakout room and we'll practice that dialogue. So we'll take about 3 or 4, maybe 5 minutes to do the exercise. So let me get the rooms ready. Okay. All right, so it looks like we'll have groups of 2 and then 1 group of 3. Okay. All right, so guys, go into the breakout room. I'll share the link to the activity, and then we'll go from there. So, all right, guys, get ready. Here we go. All right, I think we're waiting just for one more person. All right, I think everyone has returned. Okay, so let's think first. Let's think about the situation. So in the situation, it says that the salesperson treated us in a rude way, and the whole exchange just left a bad taste in my mouth. So first, what do you think happened in the situation, in the dialogue? What do you think was the reason for why the person left a bad taste in their mouth? What do you think might be this situation? Anyone have a thought?
Maybe he refused the return.
Yeah, so maybe you try to return something, the salesperson said, no way. Yep. Okay, so maybe not very friendly about it. Okay. Flavia, what were you going to say?
Yeah, I think it's the same, like someone just tried to exchange, I don't know what, but something. And then the salesperson was really rude, or maybe he was not interested in help that person. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe they just treated the person in a bad way. So, okay. Yeah, so I think many of us would agree that these kinds of exchanges don't make us feel good. Even if we know the other person was wrong or didn't act in a good way, I don't think we feel good about it, do we? So if you notice, when something leaves a bad taste in our mouths, it could be, you know, whether we created the situation or someone else created the situation, but the expression just means we feel bad. We feel bad. We feel maybe even disgusted by it. So again, maybe it was our responsibility. Maybe it was theirs. Maybe it was both. And again, God, I mentioned, maybe it's just the person wasn't feeling very well. Who knows? But I think we can all agree that we don't feel good after these kinds of exchanges. So let's think about the question. So the question here was, do we get into conflict? Do some of you argue or get into a conflict, or do you try to avoid these situations? So, Gada, what about you? In these situations, do you get into an argument? Do you say something, or do you try to avoid them because they leave a bad taste in our mouth?
Yes, I think I don't like to make an argument with anyone. But before that, I used to. I used to make an argument with
Really?
anyone.
Okay.
Yes, yes. But when I'm getting older, I said maybe it's kind of to be mature.
Sure.
Yes, yes. But I think twice before I speak because I don't like to leave a bad taste in anyone mouth.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, and Gata, you make a very good point. Sometimes, like for me, for example, especially after the pandemic, after 2021, 2022, I started looking at the world very differently. I started thinking about that what we need is more patience, more understanding. A lot of places are under pressure, stores, businesses, restaurants. And so, I think more about that now, and I try to be more understanding. So even if I have bad service or some product or something, I it's not important. It really isn't in many cases. So I think that's a good point. Maybe we get
That's because
older.
life is short and people, yes, no need
Yeah,
to make a lot of argument with anyone.
I think that's a good way to put it. Life is short. Why be rude? We don't need to be rude. If they're rude to us necessarily, I mean, I don't know if I need to be rude. Okay, well, let's get some other opinions. So, Yafet, what about you? Would you argue with the person, or do you try to avoid these difficult situations?
I think that um I like to avoid the situations, even when I am offended. I prefer to just avoid the situation to 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 have a bad taste in my mouth, because I don't really like to get an argument
Hmm.
with with people, even stranger, even at home. I don't like arguments, so I prefer the conflict leave a bad taste in my mouth.
Yeah, so maybe what you would do is just, would you leave? Like if this happened to you in a store, would you leave? Would you just not, some people would try to talk to the manager or something like that. Would you try to talk to the manager if you had a bad situation with the salesperson, or would you just not shop there anymore?
I think that if it's not if the problem is not, it's not that big, maybe uh we'll just leave. But if I'm really offended, maybe I will try to talk to the manager.
Okay. Okay. So for you, it has to be something really serious. Like you have to kind of evaluate if it's serious or not. If it's not very serious, maybe it's no problem, right?
Yeah, yeah, because
Okay.
so if it's serious, I w- I would prefer to talk to the manager, because
Okay.
maybe the sales person um will maybe do that again to another person. So
Yeah.
the good idea is to let the manager know that the salesperson is not treat he's not treat people in a good way.
Sure. Sure. And of course, you know, we also have different ways to respond. I mean, we could leave reviews. Now, of course, with the internet, we could give reviews of a store or reviews of a certain place and the service. And so now we have more ways than ever to communicate these particular feelings. So, yeah, maybe this is another way to do it. Now, of course, on the other hand, sometimes people want to give many negative reviews, and maybe that's not fair. So unfortunately, it's hard, isn't it? Yeah. So all right. Anybody else have any thoughts here? Flavia, Deborah, Miriam, Diana, any thoughts about this situation? Yeah, Diana.
I'm not mature. I love to argue if I don't like something. I always have something to say if I don't like something.
Well, Diana, at least you admitted it. Okay. All right. So
Yeah.
maybe maybe Deanna, maybe next time you go into a store, maybe you should wear like a sign that says "I'm not mature." So.
Yeah, maybe.
Well, Deanna, when you get older, maybe when you get closer to my age, you'll change your mind.
Maybe.
Maybe. Yeah. Of course, there's a big difference between your age and my age.
Yeah.
Might take a long time. Might take a long time. Well, listen, class, I think we have to agree. We at least have to give, we at least have to applaud Deanna's honesty. So I want to give you a big applause there. So, yes, very honest. And now I'll remember not to get into an argument with you. All right. So, okay. I think Gada's point is well taken. We'll be careful next time. Okay. All right. All right. Anybody else? Anybody else? Yeah, Lubna. Oh, let's see. Lubna, you go first, and then Deborah. So, Lubna.
Okay, so when I was young, I like to argue, but I don't have the courage to do that. I'm a shy person, so I'm quiet, but inside I don't feel comfortable.
Okay.
But now I don't argue because I understand that it will not help me. So it's better to leave it. Even I will not break it with me at home. So it's something for a short time. I don't give that important. So as we said,
Yeah.
don't. It's better to be nice than to be rude. So I leave it. Yeah.
Well, and you know, Lubna, and I think the world is so different today. You know, if you think about 20, 30 years ago, we didn't have a lot of choices in some places, right? You would go to a store, and maybe that was your only choice. You know, now we have so many choices, right? I mean, if we don't like the service here, we can go somewhere else, or we can order something online, or do, you know, we have choices, which again can be good, but of course it could be bad for a business. But I do think that's true. You know,
And also we can leave a comment online without, if you feel much bad, you can leave a comment or a survey. So, but you
or
don't contact with the person.
yeah, or we could even send them a message or an email. I know sometimes if we had a bad experience, I'll, you know, I won't do anything at the moment, but maybe I'll send an email later just to say, you know, this happened. It was unfortunate. You know, something maybe gives it a little more a chance to explain, but not at the moment, because yeah, at the moment you may be angry, and so maybe we don't express ourselves very well. Deborah, what were you going to say?
Sometimes I argue, but depends the mood. But with the time, I have a law. If I don't have I don't have relationship, I don't know this person,
Mm-hmm.
I don't need to waste energy on them.
That's a good point too. I mean, they are. If it's a stranger, it seems like yeah, we're getting into an argument with someone we don't know. Yeah, and that's a good point too. Now, of course, Deborah, does that mean you argue with all your family members?
Yes, a lot.
Okay, so we'll stay away from Deborah's family, and then we'll stay away from Deanna when we argue. Okay, so this is good. This is nice and clear. We're getting a clear understanding now of everyone in the class. So, well, I do think as we get older, yeah, maybe our ideas about this change, and certainly I do feel a lot of what you said, Gada. Life is short, and honestly, I don't want to waste a lot of time. Yes, it's unfortunate sometimes we get bad service or something bad happens, but I don't necessarily have to make the situation worse. So, but I do also agree with Yafet that we want to make sure a business has good relationships with its customers. So I know it's a difficult thing, I'm sure. So, well, anyway, guys, boy, it's been great hearing everyone's thoughts on this topic. So, anyway, yeah. So again, our expression for today, to leave a bad taste in your mouth, basically, again, it does not refer to food. It refers more to the experience of something. So, and I think we can all agree that many situations even if we are not responsible, or even if if we don't even respond, can make us feel bad or disgusted. So in this case, that expression, to leave a bad taste in your mouth, again, does not mean we participated in it directly. It just could be that it made us feel bad. So, well, guys, thanks so much for sharing. All right, now today we're going to start with a new grammar topic. And again, I'm always looking for topics or ideas that I think would benefit us immediately. What are things that would help us right now in our everyday communication? And one of the things that I always find interesting is talking about possibilities. So if you remember a couple of weeks ago, we discussed wish and hope. So some of you might remember we talked about things we wish for and things we hope for. So in this case, we're going to kind of continue with that similar idea about things that were not necessarily a bitter taste. Yeah, so Deborah, there you go. It's very similar. So today we're going to talk about conditionals, and especially what maybe we grammatically refer to as the second conditional. So you'll say, what does that mean? Well, let me just go ahead and explain. And I think maybe some of you know this particular idea already, but it's a great opportunity, again, to think about your language and to think about the English language. Now, English has lots of flexibility in its vocabulary. So, for example, in English, we have many, many words, many ideas. English has the largest vocabulary in the world when you think about the number of words we have in our particular language. Now, that doesn't mean that everyone uses all of those words. But one problem English does have is English does not have a good way to talk about this possibility or these unreal situations. So what we're talking about here today is something that maybe in your language you can express, but in English, we don't really have a good way to talk about what is called the unreal. Things that if the situations were different, or if this were the situation, then this would or would not happen. English doesn't have a great way to talk about that. Now, again, Spanish, I speak Spanish, so in Spanish, we have a kind of unreal form that we can use. In language, it's called the subjunctive form. English does not have this, okay? I think Portuguese does, French does, Spanish, maybe other languages do. I don't speak everyone's language, of course. But English does not have a way to talk about this if something were to happen. So everyone, let's take a look at the examples here on the screen. You may have seen this before, but it's a great opportunity to talk about. So now, first off, we are talking about maybe more formal English, but again, formal is just referring to maybe how we might communicate in writing. Of course, people speak this way too, but sometimes people might use the simple past. So, for example, if I were, this is the formal example. If I were you, you may have heard this before. If I were you. So, for example, we often use this as a way to give advice, right? If I were you, I would do this, right? If I were in your situation, I would do this. Now, people on the street might say, if I was you, I was, because they're thinking was is the way we use the simple past with I. But the problem here is we're not talking about the past. We're talking about a totally different situation, a situation we might call the unreal, because I'm not you, right? I mean, come on, guys, I'm not you. You're not me. So instead, I'm kind of giving you a case or condition. If I were you, I would do this. Okay. So look at the three examples here on the screen. So notice we use were in every case, in every situation. And then the second part of the sentence follows up with the word would. Right? Does everyone see that? So notice the conditional part, the if clause, is using the word were. If I were you, right? But then the second part of the sentence uses the would part. So take a look at the three examples. If I were colder, I would go inside. Now, what does that mean? Well, it means that right now outside is okay. It's not so cold. Like today. Today, for example, is not so bad. So in this case, we might go outside. If I were colder, I would go inside. But in this case, it's fine. The next one, if I were older, I would get the job. Now, this is another possible, situation. Of course, I'm not older at the moment. Now, what they mean when they say if I were older, what they mean is if I were, 10 years older or 20, or if I had more experience, for example. And then I like the last one. If I were you, I would buy the new car. Yeah. So, for example, don't buy the used car, buy this new one. Yeah, if I were you, if I were in your situation. Now, in each of these situations, there is a reality or a truth that we were talking about, but we're not talking about what is true. We already know what is true. The idea is we're trying to give you some possibility. So again, in the last one, for example, the truth here is we're telling you don't buy a used car, right? We're giving you some advice. Now, why would we say, if I were you, why would we say that? Why not just say to somebody, don't buy a used car? Well, that sounds very strong, doesn't it? If you tell somebody, don't do this. Yeah, so remember a few minutes ago we were talking about how we communicate. We don't want to be rude, or we don't want to give people the bad impression. So in this case, if I said, well, if I were you, well, so the idea is I'm thinking about your situation, right? I'm thinking about it. I'm trying to be sympathetic. I'm trying to think about you in this case. So the idea is I'm trying to get in your mind or head. If I were you, I would do this, right? So in thinking about this, for example, maybe, I don't know, maybe you would have a different piece of advice. Right now, buying a new car, buying new cars are very expensive. But on the other hand, maybe the used car you're looking at, maybe you're looking at this used car and you think, oh, maybe I'll buy this used car. And then your friend is telling you, wait a minute, this used car is in terrible shape. It's in terrible condition. Don't do it. If I were you, maybe buy this one. Maybe I would suggest buying this one. So in some ways, it's kind of a nice way to give advice, but it is what we call an unreal situation. Because the truth is, I'm not you, right? I'm not you. Or I'm not older. I'm just the age I am. So in this case, in all of these situations, we're trying to talk about something that's not true or not real, but there is a sort of a different, or there's a second meaning. And in all of these, I'm trying to give you what we know what the reality is. What would we do if the reality were different? So that's kind of where we're starting here for this afternoon, or this morning. So we're going to do some activities here together. And if we have time, we'll try a partner activity in the breakout room. So I think in this case, let's jump ahead now to look at some activities. Okay, so this is a great situation, and this is one where I'm going to have some different students help us here, right? Yeah, so God, I gave an example there. I wouldn't buy a used car not to pay a lot for repairing. Now, that's usually been my thinking, God, is I don't like to buy used cars because they often need a lot of work. But on the other hand, new cars are so expensive now. So anyway, okay, well, let's take a look at this first activity. All right, and I'll introduce the activity, and then we're going to have you guys help us out in this exercise. So we're going to read a conversation. I'm going to give different people sort of different parts of the conversation. But if you notice, the title of this situation, I think, is a very good one. How happy are people in their jobs? This is a perfect situation to talk about, because if you were in a different position, would life be better? So notice it says, if people were in different professions, would they be happier? If you were in a different job or in a different situation, would you be happier? So in this case, journalist Peter Hayes finds out. He interviews people in the street to see whether they would change their profession. Now, as we go along, we're going to try to notice where are some places where they use this kind of second conditional, or this kind of possible language. So here's what I would like to do. Okay, I'm going to go to the next screen, and I'm going to ask different people. So I'm going to turn on my annotation bar here, and I'm going to ask different people to play different roles in the conversation. So for example, I'm just going to assign different names here. Okay. Okay, so Deborah, you're going to be the first person. Okay, and then maybe Gada will be the second one. Okay, that's the first situation. In the next situation, maybe Yafet will read the next one. Okay, and then Miriam. You'll be the next one. Okay. I see Joanna's here. So Joanna, you get to be the next one. Okay. And then maybe, let's see, maybe Flavia, you can do the last one. Now, the idea is we're going to kind of think of them as little groups of two, right? So each one here is kind of a little bit of a different group of two. So what we'll do is we'll do the first one, and then we'll talk about it, and then we'll go to the next one, and so on. So for the first one, we have Deborah and Gada. So Deborah, would you like to start us off?
If you weren't an accountant, what would you be?
I'd be a pilot. I chose accounting because I'm good with numbers. But I'm also an adventurous person. That's why I'd love to be a pilot.
Okay, so let's stop there for a moment. Now let's go back and look through the dialogue. All right, so again, I'm going to ask different people some questions. So in the first example, we'll kind of use this one as our example. It says, if you weren't an accountant. All right, so class, we'll kind of just use this as our first example. So what is the reality? What is the truth of the situation if you weren't an accountant? So what is the truth? What is the reality of this first example?
You are an accountant.
So he is or she is, right? So the truth
Yeah.
is the person is an accountant. Okay. Now, accountant. Now, by the way, who can tell us what an accountant does? What does an accountant do, by the way? Anybody have an idea?
Work with numbers and
Well, I think lots of jobs work with numbers. So the question is,
yes.
what kind of numbers?
I think she's dealing with Excels and charts and something like that.
Well, I think that's part of it. Sure. Sure.
Taxes and
Aha! Yeah, so right now, guys, we're just about ready to start tax season here in the United States. So, yeah, maybe we need an accountant right now. Now, I don't know if anyone here in the class has studied to be an accountant. I've had in some of my other classes, I've had some people who studied business or accounting, perhaps in their countries. So, an accountant is someone who deals with taxes, business, and money. Okay. All right. Now, Deanna, so in the second example, Deanna, it says, I'd be a pilot. So, Deanna, my first question is, does this person hate being an accountant?
No,
So why did they want to change?
I think they just asking if this person wouldn't be right now an accountant
Yeah.
who this person would be else. Maybe
So
this person don't hate to be accountant, but if there were like possibility before, this person would be a pilot.
so why do you think they chose being a pilot, though? Did they give us any information in the sentence to tell us why?
Emotion. Um, this person wanted to be a pilot because she said that she or he is adventurous person. So, this person would love to be a pilot, but this person also good with numbers, so it
Yes.
decided to be accountant.
So, Deanna, are you an adventurous person? Do you like adventure?
Yeah.
Give us an example of adventure. What does it mean to be an adventurous person?
Explore everything, love to walk a lot and go like not tourist places, but like something very interesting, and like you just love to see a lot of things, and even if it's sometimes dangerous, you just still go in here because
Okay.
you like it.
So Deanna, does that mean an adventurous person would like Hawaiian pizza?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, I'm sure.
Of course, Mr. John, because I like Hawaiian pizza.
Yes.
Huh, interesting. Okay. Interesting, because honestly, that still sounds disgusting to me. But But I agree with you. I think someone would like to try new things. That's what an adventurous person might like. Okay, very good. Thank you, Deanna. So the reality here is the person doesn't hate being an accountant, but they really would like to try something else if they could. I think many people probably feel this way. They're probably, they chose the career they did because they were good at their job, but sometimes we often think about maybe trying something else. So, okay, excellent. All right, well, how about Yafet and Miriam? How about we go to the next part of our little situation here? So, Yafet, you start the next one.
Sure. Mariam, if you weren't a film director, would you be happy?
No, I don't think I would be. I love my profession. I'm living my dreams, and guess what? I'm getting rich at the same time.
Wow. So, Miriam, it sounds like you like film directing. Is that true?
No.
Well, that's your character, right? That's your line.
Yes, I love my profession, so
So, and why do you love it? What did you say there? Why do
I'm
you
living,
love
I'm living my dreams. So
and getting rich
I'm
at the same time?
getting rich at the same time.
All right. Hey, I think all of us are jealous now of Miriam here. She gets to be rich and live her dream. All right, very good. Thank you, Miriam. Thank you, Yafet. So in this case, we could see that Miriam probably doesn't want to change, right? All right, Joanna and Flavia, would you finish off, please? So Joanna, you start.
Yes. John, you are the assistant manager of large store. Would you change jobs if you could?
Oh, yes. If I were an architect, I would be so happy. Unfortunately, my family isn't rich, so I had to start working when I finished school. The manager of the department store hired me, and I've been working there for 10 years. I think it's too late to change my profession, don't you? What would you do if you were me?
Okay. All right. So everyone, let's kind of again go through and figure out the reality of the situation. So again, what is Flavia's job? What is she doing right now in this situation?
Yes, an assistant manager of a large store.
Okay, so assistant manager. Okay, so that's interesting. Assistant manager. All right, and then so what job would she prefer?
To be an architect.
Yeah. Now
Yeah.
I'm an old man. I kind of forget what architect means. So Flavia, what does it mean to be an architect?
To be an architect, it means build, this person is able to build buildings or constructions or do some like draws, important draws to do
So
that.
maybe designing the
Yeah,
place.
design.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. So in this case, being an architect is something they would like to do, but why not? Why were they not? Why didn't they choose it? So why did Flavia not become Yafet?
So the answer is because when she finished school, she couldn't go in school because his family is not rich.
So do you think studying architecture is an expensive career?
Yes, I do.
Okay. So in this case, money seems to be the problem. Okay. All right. So maybe Flavia, you need to talk to Miriam, the rich, famous film director. Maybe Miriam, you could give a little money to Flavia here.
Sure.
Okay, there you go.
Yeah, I think she's able to give me some piece of advice about that, how to
Or maybe
get
she
a
needs,
different profession.
yeah, or maybe on her films she needs someone to design, the sets, the scenes. You could
Yeah,
actually, there you go. See, we could make
it's
everyone's
also
life
a great
happier here.
idea.
I think so. And because Miriam's rich, she could do it. Now, I like this last line because we're all adults here. Even Deanna, I know Deanna, you're young and you've got a lot of hope and possibility. But I think a lot of my students feel this way, that it's too late to change. What would you do if you were me? So think about that last part, because I think what's interesting is, again, I've done this job a very long time. I've had lots of students maybe thinking about they would like to, find a career or find a choice, but sometimes I get this feeling too. It's too late to change directions. Of course, coming to the United States, we often get a second opportunity or a new opportunity to do so. So in this case, when we think about if it's too late to change, again, this is a big part of the United States. We feel like you can always have a second chance, right? Another chance to find some different path. But I don't know. In this case, Flavia mentioned she'd been working there for 10 years. So again, I think sometimes a lot of people feel that way, right? That we've been doing this for a long time. It's too late to change. It's too hard to change. So class, let's think about that last question. What would you do if you were me? So what do you think, guys? What advice could we give to Flavia in this case? Should she stay at the department store and manager? Should she go back to school? What do you think? Deanna, give us some advice.
I think she should go to school because if it's her dream, she can at least try how it will go. Especially in this text, we see that like 10 years after finishing school, and that means this person like about 30, maybe
Mm-hmm.
27, so it's not too
Sure.
late.
So you still think that Flavia has a chance, that she
Yeah.
has an opportunity.
Yes.
Okay. All right. I like the positive energy. Okay. All right. Anybody else have advice for Flavia here? Any other advice, or do you think she should stay?
I agree with Diana. She still can do what she wants.
Still can do it. Okay. All right. Well, let's ask Flavia herself. Flavia, what do you think? Do you think it's too late for you in this situation?
No, I think I'm able to try to do my best and to go back to school and I would be able to become an architect.
Well, what do you think you would have to do in this case? I mean, because obviously you still have to work and make a living.
Yes, that's the problem. I don't know if I'll be able to work and also go to school in the same. I mean, in my country, this normal, like the people usually go to work in the morning, work all day long, and then after that, when they finish work, they go to the school or
So maybe
college
like a
or something. But here I know that here is different, right? So
no,
maybe I will
we
get a new job, like a part-time job,
okay.
maybe, and then I will have more time to spend in my studies. That's
Well,
what I want to do.
yeah. Now, certainly we have night school, and certainly we have, of course, the option of online or even weekend classes. I mean, so you have lots of flexibility in the United States. The problem is the cost.
Yeah,
That is the problem.
yeah,
Let's
that's
see.
the problem.
Well, let's see. We'll start with Yafet. Yafet, what were you going to say?
Oh, my idea is a little bit controversial. So,
Uh-oh. Does this involve stealing money, Yafet? Come on.
nah,
Okay.
I think that she doesn't really have to go to school just to study architect. Maybe she can go to school, but just to study management, like,
Okay.
yeah, to continue and in her career, because I think that nowadays it's not really what we want to do that is I would say important, but
Sure.
sometimes we need to make sure that the career that we choose will give us what we want, and we want money. So so maybe for her,
Okay.
being an architect is a little bit late, but she can go to school to study management.
Now that's an interesting point. I think sometimes we have a dream, we think about wanting to be an architect or whatever, but maybe that's it. Maybe it's just a dream. Maybe the reality would be that she would be happier studying management. I don't know. But that's a good point that sometimes, and this is true, sometimes your company or business might pay for you to go back to school to get a different degree, or management or some sort of master's or something else. So that's true. Maybe that possibility exists. And then of course, maybe later you could retire and study architecture later. I don't know. But I think that's a good point, Yafet. As we get older, maybe the idea of what makes us happy may change too. Gada, what were you going to say?
Yes, regarding to the situation here, I think it's related to the mentality of the person. If the person is ready to take risk to start a new business or new life or new profession, it's related also to the responsibility and commitment he has. Many times when I think about it, I think I need to think twice to start a new business or a new profession, that it can affect my family and my kids.
Sure. I think that's a good point too. We don't know from the situation whether this person has a family, or we don't. There's a lot we don't know. So I think you're right. It also depends on where you are in life. So it certainly would be easier if you didn't have kids or other things to do. And from what I'm noticing, and again, Gada, maybe this is true in your experience, I'm noticing that people are waiting longer and longer to have children. So maybe
I can say that if I were younger, I would take that risk.
Okay.
Yes.
So there you go. So God is giving us her straight opinion there. So okay. Well, anyway, I think, and the truth is, I the reason I just want to say this very quickly before we finish, get to one more activity, is because this is kind of part of my world here. I work with adults. Many of them are they're in a situation where they're having to start life over, perhaps coming from another country, or they're giving a few are given opportunities to start younger to go back to school. But many of the students I have already have families or situations where this thought about going back to school, what would we do if we were in this situation? Of course, here you are. Many of you are taking classes right now. That's part of. That's a commitment of some sort too. It's one that doesn't necessarily cost you a lot of money, so that's good. But here in the United States, we believe in second chances. We believe in the chance to go back to school. But I think you'll notice it's not as easy. It's certainly more expensive. That's for sure. Okay, now the idea here is we're going to try a little exercise, and I think what we'll do here, again, based on our time, is we're just going to start the activity together. Okay, and then we're going to finish the activity as a partner. And we're actually not going to do all 5 sentences. We're just going to do a couple, and then I'm going to send you to the breakout room to finish the exercise. Okay, so first let's go real quickly and see what we have to do. So if you recall, the structure of the sentence is usually with the if part of the sentence, we use the word were, but the other part of the sentence, we normally use would. So everyone take a look at number 1. If I were a scientist, now notice the words we have to use are not be very happy. So how would we finish the sentence to make it correct grammatically? If I were a scientist, I
won't be.
Wouldn't be.
wouldn't be, very happy. So that's it. Very simple. The idea is you and your partner go through, see if you can finish these examples. So I want to make sure we have enough time to do the exercise. So what we're going to do is we'll kind of continue, and I've given you 6 through 10 to do with your partner. So let's do that first, and then we'll come back. If we have time, we'll finish 2 through 5. But let's go ahead now and return to the breakout room, because I want to make sure we have enough time to do it. So I'm going to stop sharing the screen. We're just going to return to the same groups we had before. So let me see again. I think we'll add one more group. So maybe we'll do this. Okay, so now we'll have 4 groups of 2. And I'll come in and share the link to the exercise. And again, I had a connection issue last time. So let me make sure I've got this activity available. There it is. Okay. All right, guys. So we're going to go back to the breakout room. This should not take you very long. So probably about 4 minutes or so. And then we'll return. All right. I think we're just about all here. Okay, everyone now is back. All right, real quickly, guys, let's check our answers. So I'm just going to call on different students to help us out. So Lubna, would you like to try number 6?
Okay, number 6. Okay. If they were in the right profession, they wouldn't be so unhappy.
Okay, all right, very good. All right, number 7, Flavia, would you like to try that one?
Yes. If you weren't an architect, what would you be happy? I don't know if I can add the word happy in this case.
No, because what is the substitute? Yeah, so if you said, would you be happy, that would be okay, but we don't know how the person is. So in this case, we would say, what would you be?
Would you be? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, because we're looking for what profession would you be? Yeah. All right. Let's see. Miriam, would you like to try number 8?
Okay, it's Pete would be follow his dream if he weren't so afraid to try.
Okay, good. You have 1 extra word though.
Okay,
you don't need. Yeah,
be
you don't need be. Yeah, you just say would follow. Yeah. Yeah, so we were using be so often. We in this case, yeah, we don't need it. All right, Yafet, would you like to try number 9?
No, so I wanted to ask a question.
Okay.
So number 7, we use so our group used what would you like to be? It's
That's
different.
fine. No, that's fine. That's essentially the same. Yeah.
So number 9, it's my turn.
Yeah.
Okay. If Susan and John were younger, they would choose a different profession.
Okay, very good. Yeah, so if you, again, the key to remember, guys, is that the word were never changes. So if you were, if I were, if he were, if they were, it's the same for all of them. Okay. All right. And then Joanna, would you like to try the last one, number 10?
Yes. If Susan and Marco weren't still in school, in taking school, they will open their own restaurant.
Yeah, very good. All right. So, okay. So I think we're off to a great start with this exercise. And again, I just want to highlight before we wrap up here this morning that there are kind of key points when it comes to the grammatical structure of these types of sentences. So yes, once again, we generally see the word if, right? So that's part of the clause. So again, noticing in each of these situations, the word if, though, does not always have to start the sentence. You can switch. You can switch the order of a sentence. So just remember that the word if does not always have to go at the beginning. However, wherever the if clause is located, it does need to include that word were. So whether it's if they were or weren't, right? So that's the idea. Everywhere we see the word were would be followed by that weren't or were form. And then the other part of the sentence, whether it's at the beginning of the sentence or not, would include usually the word would. So that basic structure, right? That's kind of the most important part of putting these types of sentences together. Because remember, all of these sentences are what we call conditional. If this were to happen, right? If, then what would happen? Now, I think we can agree, though, that these are often, too, what we might consider to be unreal situations. They're the possibilities very small that these would happen. Again, for example, thinking about number 7, if you weren't an architect, what would you be? Well, I mean, the truth is, there's a very little chance that you're going to change your job. Not to say that it's impossible, but we often think about unreal situations as talking about things that probably are not going to happen, or they're talking about something of reality that probably is not going to change. So the idea here is, like, even in number 9, if they were younger, I mean, that's impossible. You can't be younger. So I know many of us may feel like we want to be younger, but the idea is that these are really not happening. They're not going to happen. And part of it is when you put all of these parts of the sentence together, the listener understands, oh, these are not real. These are not, happening. Maybe you're giving advice. Maybe you're talking about these situations that you kind of wish, right? It's kind of like wish and hope, right? We wish these would happen, but of course they're not going to. So, all right, well, guys, I think we're off to a great start with this topic. So we're going to stop there for today. I think we're doing pretty well, so I'm not going to go back to the beginning. All right, well, guys, we will continue.